Polly, also known as Pollygone Illustration, and I am going to be painting on vinyl records. Don't worry, these records have been completely scratched up. They're not usable. I was given these for free to use for my art. I have actually painted on records before, but I haven't tried it in a while, and I've never really done a really nice, like, detailed, complicated art piece. I've always made it quite simple, but today I'm actually going to challenge myself, and I'm actually going to completely fill this record with flowers, hedgehogs and strawberries. I just thought it'd be a really cute thing to do, and recently I've really been loving drawing hedgehogs and strawberries together. I've been doing a few pieces with them, so I want to fill this up with them. To start off with, I actually have to prime my canvas because vinyl doesn't really allow acrylic paint to stick very well. So I have got some primer which works on all surfaces to put on this, just to make it a bit easier and make the paint stick to it. So let's go and get started. While we wait for the record to dry, I'm actually going to start sketching out some ideas on my iPad. Like I said before, I've really enjoyed drawing hedgehogs and strawberries recently, so that's what I want to do on my record. So I'm actually going to start by sketching out some ideas of what it could look like. I'm planning on filling it with you know, loads and loads of flowers and strawberries, and I have little hedgehogs just poking out so you can just kind of see where they are, and I just want them to all be individual and different. I just want this to be a really fun kind of unique piece. So I'm going to be using Procreate to sketch out my ideas. When I was doing this sketch, I kind of just wanted to think about how I could get this to work. I wanted to make sure that I kept the circleness of the record, which as you'll see later I do actually do, and I make a few changes to my design to incorporate that a little bit more. But what I wanted to definitely include was strawberries and their hedgehogs and lots of flowers. I actually decided to have two different types of flowers. I wanted to have some flowers that looked a bit more like daisies, and then some flowers that looked a bit more like the flowers you will see growing on strawberry plants. I also put in some colour just to see how it would look. I wanted to use a lot of warm colours with a bit of splashes of green, just to add some contrast to the painting. So as you can see here, I did actually completely fill up the record, but in the end I decided that I didn't actually want to do that, and I wanted to keep the main focus on the one strawberry and two hedgehogs. So now the record is fully primed and dried. It takes around 1 to 2 hours for the primer to dry, and you should probably put on a couple of coats to make sure it is completely covered. So let's start sketching out onto the vinyl. When you're sketching on your record, make sure you don't use a graphite pencil, just because it is really difficult to remove the graphite if you make a mistake. I'm actually using an erasable coloured pencil. It's actually a black erasable coloured pencil, which is probably why it looks like a normal pencil, but it's so much easier to remove than graphite, and it doesn't smudge on the surface like graphite will. To paint in my record, I am using Turner acrylic gouache. I really like this. I really love the texture. You can water it down and make it a bit more watery if you want, and it's great for blending different colours together. It's basically a mixture of gouache and watercolours and acrylic paint at the same time, and it works amazingly well on this surface, and I love how smooth it is when you apply it. To add shadow and depth to my strawberries, I'm actually using a dark purple, which probably sounds a bit strange, but if you know colour theory, this is the best way to go to add in colour. You don't want to use black, otherwise it will make your painting look muddy and dark. If you're not sure about what colours you should use to make your shadows, experiment with different colours and try them on top of each other before you go to your final piece. In the end, I decided not to fill up the entirety of the record with flowers and hedgehogs, and I decided to keep it to a little bit more simple design, but with a lot of detail and shading in. So when you look at the illustration, you can see each detail and each stroke, and I think it just gives it a bit more depth and gives you a bit more to look at without making it too overwhelming to the eye. And I kind of like how I've circled the painting around the shape of the record, rather than just filling it in willy-nilly. I also wanted to keep the record's features, like the round circle in the middle that is usually covered by some sort of sticker with the band or the artist's name, so I decided that I would colour that in too. I'm not sure why, but recently I have really been enjoying painting strawberries using this gouache. It's just so fun to be able to blend the colours together and experiment with different ways to make the light hit the strawberries and shadows. And it's just such, I don't know, I just love doing it for some reason. I find it really relaxing and I really like colouring in. I think the one thing I love the most about the strawberries is this pink colour you get from mixing the colours I use together. I think it's just so nice and vibrant and it makes the strawberry look really nice. But it also gives it a cartoony effect and it's not too realistic, which I really like because I don't really want my style to be 100% realistic. But I still want the cuteness and the depth there. Usually I find that gouache dries quite quickly. However, on this surface, it just didn't seem to dry as quickly as it would if I had painted in my sketchbook or something. It just took that little bit extra to dry. I don't know if that's just because paper is more absorbent or if the surface is just a little bit too slippery and it just doesn't quite stick there right away. However, once I finish painting, it comes out really, really smooth and I really like how soft it is to touch. If you did want to make it a bit more texture and add a bit more lumpiness to it, you can definitely do that as well. I just prefer having my paintings nice and smooth. Especially as it's on a record, I kind of wanted to keep that feel there and make it smooth like a record would be. When I started painting my flowers, I started experimenting with the amount of water I have on my brush, just because I wanted to try and add some more texture to the flowers to make them look less cartoony, as the style I've drawn them in isn't particularly realistic, so I wanted to make sure I got a bit more texture in there using my brush strokes and my paint. I made sure to pick colours that I had already used. Personally, I tend to stick to using maybe 3 or 4 base colours and then building on top of them. So if I have a pink, I might use some different shades of pink, a lighter and a darker pink, and then I will use other colours in a similar kind of group. So I might use up some purples in there as well, and I'll have a few different shades of them too. And then I will probably go for 1 or 2 contrasting colours. Like for this painting, I have gone for the bright green and the bright yellow, which really stand out against the pink and they complement and work together really well. I like to keep to a limited palette because I don't want my paintings to look too crazy, and I kind of like it to look like it's a bit more thought out and constructed well. When there's so many different colours and so many things going on, it may be a little bit harder to focus on one thing in a painting, and I kind of like that when you look at this painting, you can see the whole painting as a whole and you can see all the individual bits there too, but nothing's really taken away from anything else. It's all there and you can see it and it's just nice on the eyes. During this painting, I made sure to only focus on one type of subject at a time. So you will have noticed I did the strawberries first, and then I moved on to the flowers, and then finally I finished with the hedgehog. This is just to make it a little bit easier for me, make sure the paint doesn't dry and then I lose the colour I'm using. I find that this gouache dries really, really quickly, so I want to make sure that I'm not losing a colour I've mixed and then, not get it back again, because that's so annoying when you've mixed the perfect colour and you just can't get it right again. So I do try to make sure that I colour everything in that colour right away, just to avoid that being a problem. If you're unsure of where you want to place colour in a painting, maybe you could take a photo of it and then colour it in digitally or something, and that will help you work out where you want to put each colour, and you can think a bit more about it and you don't put too many colours that are too similar, too close to each other. I have really enjoyed doing this painting. In total, it took me around 7 to 8 hours to complete, so it did take me a long time, but I really like the outcome. I think it's super, super cute, and I definitely want to do more paintings like this again. I'm definitely going to bring out more records and do more illustrations on them, because it's so fun to paint on a different surface, and it's nice not just to be painting consistently in a sketchbook. I like trying out new things and, testing out new surfaces, and it's nice to be able to go back and do something that you've done maybe before but haven't really thought about what you could do, and now I can push the limits a little bit further and experiment and try a few more new things. So here is the finished painted record. I hope you enjoyed watching me paint this record. I had a lot of fun doing it, and it was nice to do something different and do a really nice, like, complicated painting on it, and it was a lot of fun, and I really think that the final painting is really cute, and I really like how all the colours work together, and I think these hedgehogs are adorable. If you enjoyed this video, please give it a massive thumbs up and hit the subscribe button if you haven't already. If you're new here, don't forget to hit that notification bell as well to make sure you'll be notified for when I next upload. I hope you enjoyed watching my video, and I'll see you next time. Bye!